and welcome back to Pokemon Team Creation Series. This episode is brought to us by JRC. Maybe that's all we use as saying the people who suggest this now. Not that this was recommended or suggested by. No, brought to you by JRC. Who asked the question, what is Zatch Bell's Pokemon team from Zatch Bell, the series? Believe it or not, this is one of those anime series that I did watch fairly regularly when it was on Toonami back in the day. I don't think I ever watched like the end of it. I don't think the full series was ever dubbed, was it? But I do vividly remember watching this series. In essence, you had Pokemon or slash Digimon, but you used little magical boys to, actually, I think you had boys and girls, but you had little magical kids, so you decided to dogfight with magical kids. Okay, great. It was the 90s. We didn't think anything of it. But no, look, Zatch from Zatch Bell. Now, let's be very clear. We are talking about Zatch himself right here. We're not talking about his partner, whose name escapes me at the moment. Look, I looked it up, because I had to look up Zatch and abilities and personality traits here. Zatch, Kiyomaru Takamine. It's Taka in mine. I think that's pronounced Takamine, but let me know if I'm wrong. It's either Takamine or Takamine. I think it's Takamine. That sounds more like a name. Anyway, and what is his Pokemon team? So he's actually a pretty friendly kid. Friendly character. He's actually someone who doesn't want to fight and is actually trying to be what is the name of their species again? One second here. Mamodo King, the king of the pirates, the Hokage, whatever you will call it in this version, number one hero, the Wizard King. He's trying to become the head leader of his people. And because of that, he still has to fight and burn the books and basically be the last one standing, more or less. Now, all of them have their own special abilities. Zatch is all special abilities and magics that are locked in a book that their partner uses and helps them battle. And Zatch's abilities, if you remember the series, are all electric-based, which is actually kind of unique. You normally don't see that for a main character when you think about it. I'm sure if I really thought and looked into it, there are other main characters whose main ability is lightning-based. But when you really think of it, fire is very common, or just like a standard energy blast. Blue Exorcist. Getsugatenjo is not really fire, but it looks kind of fiery, I suppose. The main character of not Akame got killed, not that. Kazami Stigma. Or maybe like a water, basically. You normally don't see lightning as the main ability, if you're talking about elements at least. So that's why I always kind of liked Zatch a bit more than some of the other ones. Not that some of the other ones weren't cool too. Anyway, so what exactly did I do for this team per se? Well, it was kind of an interesting thing. I knew I had to have a lot of electric types on the team, but I didn't want it to solely be electric types if I could help it. The reason for that is just it wouldn't be a balanced team, and there's more to Zatch than just that. Right out the gate, though, one Mon stuck out to me, and it was the one non-electric Mon that I put on the team. So one of the key things about Zatch and any one of the, Mamodos, is that they need a partner to fight with. They need a partner to unleash their full abilities, capabilities, to fight with and get stronger with. And unfortunately, there aren't a lot of Pokemon that exist in that state, where there are technically multiple Pokemon together that fight and help strengthen each other. There really just aren't many at all. You got your Magnemites and the Magnetons, but that's really just technically one Mon turning into one Mon, not two separate Mon that, are together and act as one single Mon. The only one I can think of off the top of my head is Tandemaus. And honestly, that did not work out because they're not really strengthening each other. They're just, husband and wife mouse that when you're not looking and they level up, turn into Mousehole, which concept is great. Design-wise is so bad. I hate the design of Tandemaus and Mousehole so much because they literally just look like little stuffed animal mouses. There's nothing. If I looked at that in if I had never seen the Pokemon before, or at least the Gen 8 Pokemon, and someone held the 4 Gen 8 Pokemon or 9 Pokemon, and told me, okay, which one of these doesn't look like a Mon, and Maushold/Tandemaus was up there, I'd say that one does not look like a Pokemon. That looks stupid. Whatever. I digress. So there really weren't a lot of options, but luckily there was an out for that. We had Mega Kangaskhan. Now, first off, Mega Kangaskhan I think works because it is actually very caring. It's a motherly Pokemon, all that nurturing Pokemon, but it's also very aggressive and powerful to fight when it needs to be. But when you go Mega Kangaskhan, the baby turns into a little partner and is able to fight alongside with the mother. And this really seems to work out well with Zatch here. Not to say that it's 100% perfect. Obviously, Kangaskhan doesn't just... Kangaskhan's obviously the representation, is the representation of Kiyomaru here. And Kiyomaru technically doesn't fight at all in this scenario. But still, I think this actually works out well because Zatch is among the more kinder, friendlier of his kind. And he just wants the best for, his people and all that. And so I think that kind of caring, nurturing aspect to his personality can show through in a Mega Evolution of Kangaskhan. Now, admittedly, the rest of these are electric types. And we start out with a twofer. It's one of the only ones who, image-wise, I have in one image. And that's Plusle and Minun. This is simply because they are stronger together than they are apart. They are electric-type Pokemon. They are two halves of the same whole. Negative charge, positive charge. It just concept-wise works with Zatch, I think. But then we have the Mon that represents some of the spells in his book. Now, I don't know if we ever saw all of the spells in this book, but we saw a good chunk of them. And I wrote down the names of the spells and the descriptions they gave. So, one cop-out, though, I did do is Pikachu. Pikachu's on the team. Deal with it. You can trade him out if you want, if you don't like it. But Pikachu is on the team. And this is really just to represent his basic attack. Keep in mind, Pikachu's not a fully evolved Pokemon. So I just did it to represent the first attack he showed up with, Zakir, which is just a straight energy electric blast. So Pikachu. Great. Awesome. Then I chose, we have technically four Pikachu clones on this team, folks, and that is Pawmi. Or I should say Pawmo. Now, Pawmo is the first legitimate electric fighting type, along with Pawmont, which, again, Pawmo, honestly, you could just take a Pawmo out of the evolution line, and it probably would have flowed a lot better. I'll have to redo that video at some point I did a while back of how many Pokemon should there be, because now with Gen 9 coming out and my rethoughts on certain Mon, I could definitely change up that list a little bit. Anyway, so Pawmo, it represents the ability known as Ryzaruk. I think that's the name of the ability. One second here. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation. And it's been so long since I've watched the show that I don't know how it's pronounced. Ryozaruk, which basically the spell zaps Zatch with a rainbow. I hate these ads. God. With a rainbow-colored attack that is launched from his mouth. Sorry, wrong one. It zaps him with a rainbow-colored bolt of lightning from the sky and increases his strength, speed, agility, power, and spell power. Now, that makes it sound like, and again, it's been so long since I watched the series, but it does sound like he should be able to engage in physical combat, which would be a fighting type capability, or at least a physical type, like fighting or a rock or steel or something like that. But fighting stood out. And look, it's Pawmo, and Pawmo is a fighting electric type. And let me just be sure, can Pawmo learn any sort of enhancement move? Let's find out here real quick. Pawmo. We are looking for the Pawmo. There you are, Pawmo. So tell me, Pawmo, tell me about yourself. Where are you from? How you been? But specifically, can Pawmo learn, like, when I say enhancement, I mean like a swords dance, a growth type move, a belly drop, something like that. Let's find out here. Okay, charge. It can increase its special defense. I do agility. It can't carry its speed. Can't learn anything through TMs. You'd think I would have looked this up prior, but oh well. There's some things I don't prepare for, unfortunately. I wish I could. Eerie Pulse I can learn through a TM, which exposing the target to a charge it lowers this special attack. Okay, that doesn't do anything. Helping Hand only in a double battle. Electric terrain, that does count. Okay, so it doesn't learn any like real status increasing moves or stat increasing, not stats, but stat increasing moves. But still, I think it's a decent representation. You could have also gotten Palmont on this, and it probably would have worked fine. I tried not to go with fully evolved Mon most of the time on this team, just because he's a kid and he's still has a lot of growing to do. But last but not least, we have the representation of one of his strongest spells, the Baozu Kurge, I believe, which is kind of like bazooka, if you will. And that is basically described as a technique, a multi-range lightning attack that is launched from Zatch's mouth. Baozu Kurge, it takes the form of a fierce dragon that can crush almost anything with its powerful jaws. Multiple of these can be used as demonstrated in his fight with Fadu. And so, look, he's telling me lightning-based attack, shape of a dragon. Well, that kind of narrows it down a little bit, and I only had two options here. I either had Zekrom or Miraidon. From both a design standpoint and I think a power, I mean, technically they're both the same power, just different stat distributions. But from a design standpoint, I liked Miraidon a little better for this. It's just the more, whoops, wrong one. It's just the more, why don't we actually get you in front? How about we go up now? There we go. It's just the more lightning designed Pokemon. It looks like a Pokemon that is actually has lightning incorporated into the design. Whereas Zekrom, I like Zekrom, but it honestly looks a lot more Digimon-like than it does Pokemon. And honestly, this doesn't. I can still see Pokemon in this, don't get me wrong, but designs lately have gotten a little bit more complex, especially with the legendaries. And they do look a bit closer to a Digimon sometimes. But look, design-wise, yeah, I would probably go Miraidon. It just is more lightning-themed, especially when it's in attack mode, than Zekrom is. Personally, I like Zekrom more overall, but design-wise, I think this works. Do I like it more? Because I actually don't, especially like in this pose, I like this design. I liked Koraidon more, personally. I went with Scarlet over Violet, but it's not a bad design. I think I might still lean towards Zekrom. It actually looks more intimidating and imposing compared to Miraidon, I think. But I digress. So this is, generally speaking, the team I have. We have a Pikachu, Palmo, and Miraidon to represent certain spells in his book. We have plus level Minun to represent teamwork, and two Mon that represents two halves of the same whole. And then we have Mega Kangaskhan to represent the partner, also the partner dynamic, but also the kinder nature to Zatch as well. That said, balance-wise, how balanced is this team? Yeah, think of the word, idiot. My brain just had a fart there. Just think of the word you want to say. What word do you want to say? Where's Kangaskhan? I just want to double check Mega Kangaskhan if its type changes. I can't remember if it does or not. It's normal. Mega Kangaskhan is also normal. Okay. So from a type perspective, you'd think this team would be completely just royally screwed by ground type Mon, because it's almost completely all electric. With one exception, it is all electric. And you wouldn't be 100% wrong, per se, because 50% of this team is just pure electric. So ground right at the gate is going to cleave through half this team, no problem. And then the other two, well, they're not doing much better. Fighting, as far as I know, is not strong against ground. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to get the type chart up here real quick. I believe ground, I know one of them is actually stronger than the other, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see here now. Ground. There we go. Ground. I want my ground. Let's just look for fighting instead. That'll work. So fighting, and how does it? Oh, no, it is neutral to ground. I apologize. I always thought there was some sort of special relationship with ground when it comes to fighting. Maybe I was thinking the fact we hadn't had one until Great Tusk. But that means that, look, it helps mitigate a little bit of the weakness to ground there. And the dragon type certainly helps with Miraidon's case. But apart from ground, the thing about electric, and it really is the big catch-22 here with electric, is that electric actually only does have one legitimate weakness, and that is ground. So apart from that, I mean, as long as it doesn't go up against any earthquakes, this team actually should handle most opponents pretty well. I mean, granted, it's pure electric for half of it. You have a normal type who's at least immune to ghosts. Then you have the dragon electric type, which is a very powerful typing. Any dragon combo is usually very powerful. And then fighting electric, which is unique and has the ability to resurrect its team. So I wouldn't call it the most balanced team. But this is the team that I designed for Zatch. Let me know if you like this team or you dislike this team. Until then, thanks for, and what would you do different if you would do anything different? Let me know in the comments below. But until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.